Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our advisory council meeting. Let me share my screen. Um, just a second. I'm still getting used to the to this interface. Let's see. Where did my share screen? Let's see. Oh, it's not. Do y'all know where share screen is on here? Like, show
Not
anybody?
down at the bottom, Chad,
It's
next to
not.
the.
Yeah, it's not showing. Let me see. I maximize. Because usually, yeah, there's like a.
Oh, it's down at
Okay,
the
there it
bottom.
is. For some reason, when I minimize the thing,
Okay.
let's see. How about now? Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
The PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Just making sure. Okay, so again, welcome everybody to today's advisory council meeting. Thank you all for taking time to be here this morning. We've got a pretty full agenda, but I think we'll try to keep everything moving relatively quickly. So today we'll do welcome, and then we'll have the council members just do a quick roll call. You can just once we start, if the council members, if you'll just say your name and then what role you play. If you're a child care provider, if you're a parent, or if you are with a support organization. We'll review the minutes from the last meeting. And then if there's any corrections that need to be made before we approve the meeting minutes, we will do that as well. We've got some old business that we need to address, including nominations for our council chair and co-chair. I know y'all had discussion about that last time. We just need to revisit to make sure that I think we need to get some nominations for those positions. If we have enough people for a quorum, we can take a vote if the council wants to, or if the council would rather wait to vote at the next meeting or via email, we can do that as well. We are going to review the 2024 CCDF final rule update. And I listed that as old business because that was a topic of discussion previously. As far as new business, I know that at our joint advisory council, there was some discussion about adding some councils to some committees rather to the council. So we'll just discuss if there are committees. Carol, for example, I know you had talked about potentially adding a committee to address funding sources for CCPP. And then if there's any other committees that y'all might want to look at adding to the council as a part of the council. Also, we'll need to talk through the review and the formal adoption of the bylaws. That's something that we definitely need to get done. We'll schedule our next meeting. If there's any council announcements, we'll take those. We'll do our public comment period, and then if there aren't any other final comments, whatever, we will adjourn for the day. So really quickly, if we could just do a roll call, if the council members, just the council members, not DCCD staff, not members of the public, if you will just tell us who you are and what role you play.
Lori Gloyd Rollison. I own Little People's Christian Academy in Harrison County.
Okay, hey Lori.
Lynn Black, child care provider for Little Leap Academy, Little Leap Academy 2 in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Hey Lynn.
Carol Burnett, the Mississippi Low Income Child Care Initiative.
Hey Carol.
Nancy
Shelby.
Sylvester, Director of Global Connection Learning Center.
Hey, Nancy.
Debbie
Shelby.
Ellis, Delta Licensed Providers, and the Learning Tree in Greenwood.
Hey, Debbie.
Dolores Sewell, Prep Comedy Tutorial Schools in Jackson, Child Care Network Alliance.
Hey, Miss Sewell.
Yeah.
Sally West with Hancock County Human Resource Agency in Hancock County.
Hey, hey, Sally. Do we have anybody else?
Yes, Shelby Gann, Elucidator.
Hey, Shelby. Anyone else?
Chad, how many do we need for a quorum?
So we have 20 members, so we need it's the bylaws state that it's a majority for a quorum. So right now right now I'm counting 8 people, so we would need 3 more present for a quorum. But again, we can recess any items, that we need to take a vote on, and that will reflect that in the minutes, and then we can do that at our next meeting if we don't have enough to take a vote. And we can still have discussion, and the council can make recommendations, etc. There just can't be a formal vote on any specific actions.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Cindy, I saw you just jumped in. Do you can you unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and state your role if you're a child care provider?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Cindy McCarley. I'm with Good Shepherd Community Center, which also houses a preschool. And my role is, I guess, as director.
Okay. Cindy, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
You too. I apologize for being late. I couldn't get on.
No problem. All right. Anybody else? Any other council members before we move into the rest of the agenda? Okay. Y'all did receive, I sent out the minutes, and I apologize. I missed the part about the attachment. I also sent the attachment. It was relatively last minute. If y'all will just take a minute to review the minutes, and then if there are corrections that need to be made. So Debbie, I know, for example, you said that there was a correction that you wanted to be made. We will do that, and before we move forward with. Well, we still don't have a quorum, so we can't formally vote to approve the minutes, but we can make corrections. And in the next meeting, if we have a quorum, we can move to take a vote to approve. So we're still two members short of quorum. Okay, Debbie?
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and correct the minutes to reflect that I do not support payment by attendance. I don't even know how that could have possibly happened, but I do not support it. I support payment by enrollment only.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we will make that correction. I'll give everybody a few more minutes to review to see if there are additional corrections that need to be made. Are y'all seeing any other corrections that need to be made? Okay. Cindy, was that I don't have the minutes pulled up. I saw your comment supporting pay by enrollment. Was that something that needs to be corrected in the minutes, or were you just stating?
I was just agreeing with her comment.
Okay. Okay. Any other corrections to the minutes before we move forward? Like I said, we're still 2 members short for a quorum. Since we're not meeting a quorum at this point, what we will do is we'll make the corrections to the minutes. We will send those out to the council, and then we can formally vote to approve the corrected minutes at the next meeting. Okay, I'm not hearing any additional corrections, so we'll keep moving. Like I said, I know we got a full agenda here. So the next thing that we needed to do, and y'all will need to kind of catch me up on some of the discussion. I was not present at the last. I was not present at the last meeting, and I apologize for that. I was actually asked to go to the Capitol and along with Mr. Anderson to speak about the child care payment program, and it was fairly last minute request, so I apologize for being absent last time. So one of the things that, as of right now, the bylaws, there are um, 2 positions that we need to look at filling. One is the council chair and then the council co-chair. So the council chair, once we have elected a council chair, that person will take over at presiding at the meetings. So they'll do all this stuff that I'm doing, and they'll ensure like that the meetings of the minutes are kept and adopted by the council. The council chair shall preside over the meetings and shall oversee the use of Robert's Rules of Order in order to conduct meetings by the council. In the DCCD, we will provide the administrative support, but the council chair and council co-chair will work with us to make sure, like I said, that the meeting minutes are being properly recorded and are being posted to our website, etc. So the council chair, like I said, will be primarily responsible for presiding over the meetings, etc. The council co-chair shall co-preside at the meetings of the council and will assist the chair with their duties, including ensuring minutes of the meeting are kept and adopted by the council. The council co-chair shall preside over the meetings and shall oversee the use of Robert's Rules and Order in order to conduct meetings by the council in the absence of the co-chair. I'm sorry, the council chair. So should the council chair not be present, the council co-chair would be responsible for presiding over the meetings. Was there any questions about either of those positions, or was there discussion that, like, I don't know, do we need to accept nominations again? I think a couple of people stepped forward. Y'all will have to catch me up on the conversation from the last meeting.
Yeah, there was conversation and some people did step forward. Your staff doesn't have that information?
Well, they did, but I just wanted to make sure that you all had the opportunity to share discussion that I may have missed.
Well, I had offered to play the council chair role if to just step forward because there had been a reluctance, it sounded like, among members to step forward for that. So I'd be happy to do it, but others should also weigh in.
And I had nominated Lori as well for the chair position in the last meeting.
Miss Sally, I greatly appreciate your confidence in me. I'm not saying no, that I wouldn't help, but I will be starting my doctoral classes and my dissertation in August in neurodiversity, and I just don't know if I'm the best person time-wise for it. But if we can't get anybody in place, then I will do what I need to do.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's going to be a lot, but I'm excited.
Okay, so for council chair, so as of right now, I'm hearing that Carol, you stepped forward. No one else, no one else was nominating anyone. for that position. What about the position of co-chair?
Chad, I wouldn't mind stepping into that role.
Okay. The role of co-chair?
Yes.
Okay.
I also feel Sally West has a lot of knowledge if she wanted to take over one of the roles.
I
So
would
Lori,
be,
are you nominating Sally for one of the positions?
I am. I
Okay.
think she would be a good asset to this.
Okay.
And Chad, with regard to the attendance we are experiencing with the lack of quorum, I think there was a small attendance at the last meeting as well. There was some discussion among your staff about sending some voting opportunity out to the council members by email to try to address that problem.
Yeah, and I think we could send out if there are, if the question, there was some question with them, and they were stepping in last minute for me, so they held it down as best they could. And I think they did a great job considering it was last minute that I asked them to take on that responsibility. Um, there was just some question about if we sent out the information via email, if that would fall within what we consider to be full transparency. So I think that's why we wanted to have the discussion today. At this point, so I do want to clarify. So Lynn, you said that you nominated yourself for co-chair. Lori, which position? You said Sally for one of the positions. Could you clarify which of the positions you would like to nominate her for?
I mean, I think she's capable of doing chair.
Okay.
I think Miss Debbie Ellis, with her knowledge and all of the legal stuff that she um has, would be perfect for chair or co-chair. I'd be willing to do any role, but I think that the legal mindset that Miss Carol and Miss Debbie have, I think are amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
I thank you so much, Sally. I'll tell you, I've been hesitant to take any leadership position because my business is in peril, and I don't know that I would be able to serve if I'm not in business. So it's really, really tough here in the Delta. We're also dependent on certificates of payment. So I appreciate it so much, but I feel I must decline for that reason.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, so as it stands right now, so for the position of chair, we have Carol and Sally that have both been nominated for the position of chair. And for the position of co-chair, I have both Lynn and Sally that were recommended for those or nominated for those positions. Did I miss
I
anything?
think Miss Carol would make an amazing chairperson.
Right, and I do have Carol. That's what I said. Carol and you and Carol both have been nominated for that position. Did I miss anything? Miss anybody? Okay, so what we'll do at this point, we will again, we've got the nominations. I would prefer that we take a vote during a meeting, just so that everything is, like I said, recorded and but if the council would like, we could also take a vote by email but the council would have to decide if that's something that they would be willing to do. I would much prefer to take a public vote at the next meeting on these positions. But we can send out information to the council saying that these are the people that have been nominated for those positions in preparation for the vote. How do you all feel about that?
It sounds good to me.
I'm in agreement.
That sounds fine to me.
Okay. So we're good. So what we'll do is we will send out an email just stating to the full council. So for the position of chair, we have Carol and Sally that have been nominated for the position of chair, and for the position of co-chair, we have Lynn and Sally that have been nominated for those positions as well. Is that correct?
I would prefer to not do the chair position. I'm not sure if my skill set and knowledge with legal matters would
Okay.
benefit us with that.
Okay. So we can put you as co-chair. Is that, or are you accepting of that?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay.
And I do think Miss Lynn would do a great job in that as well.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's what we'll do. We'll send out the information to to the full council with the committee members. So, okay. Pull this back up. Okay. Can y'all still see the presentation again?
We can.
Okay. All right. So the next thing that we need to discuss is the 2024 final rule update. So as we have, discussed before, in 2024, the Office of Child Care released what's called the CCDF final rule. And the final rule, it tells states, it's the guidance on how they are to meet the requirements to operate the CCDF program. Earlier this year, just not, I guess maybe a month or two ago, the Office of Child Care, they have now provided updates to this rule. So the primary changes to the final rule, there's four things. There were four things that were put in place by the final rule in 2024 that have been walked back, or what the feds have said is that states are not required to do these things. The first one is paying prospectively, which would have been paying in advance. Mississippi had not done that, and we had requested a waiver for that. Currently, that is not something that there will be no change there. The second one is using grants and contracts for some services. There wasn't really a lot of language around what some services actually meant as far as how, monetary or numerically what that should be. That's also something that does not affect Mississippi. We had not put that in place. The third is capping co-payments at 7% of family income. This is something that we had done. We did this starting with the pandemic, and we had continued that practice. I see no reason to change that policy unless there's, discussion that the council would like to, weigh in on that policy. I don't see a reason. I think it is beneficial to our families. And it doesn't represent increasing the percentage of co-payments. I don't feel would have a great effect on the funding level for CCDF. I don't really think that it would affect it at all. And then the fourth one is paying by enrollment versus attendance. Now, this is an item that we do need to talk about, and we'll discuss the reasons that we do need to discuss that policy. So before we get into that, is there any discussion about the capping the co-payments at 7% of family income? Do any council members feel that there would be a reason for us to change that policy?
No.
I do not. I think it's perfect. think families are struggling now.
I agree.
Okay. So then, just a second. Just so we get on there. Okay, so the other one is the paying by enrollment versus attendance. So when you look at this policy, this is something that we did enact in during the pandemic. We had to request a waiver during the pandemic because at that point officially the feds still required states to pay by attendance. Then with 2024, there was the move to put the enrollment-based reimbursement in place. And Mississippi, we were already doing that, so we were already in compliance. So now there is the rollback. So y'all, I think what I want to do is I just want us to have a very open conversation about the enrollment versus attendance-based policy. I think the best thing for us to do is just to share concerns on both sides. I want to hear y'all's recommendations. I want to hear your concerns about both options. I do feel that I need to share my concerns with you all as well, on both sides of the coin, so to speak. Now I will say that this is a decision that goes beyond myself and Angela and DECCD. Okay. There are a lot of eyes that are on childcare right now at the state level and at the federal level. And, you know, one of the things that is very clear is that the Office of Child Care, they are saying that they're giving states flexibility with walking back these requirements, but simultaneously there is a lot of discussion about cracking down on anti-fraud, or cracking down on fraud and putting in place anti-fraud policies, including the fact that the president has launched an anti-fraud task force that is headed by the vice president. So, anyway, that's one thing that's a factor that I do want to discuss after I hear y'all out. And then, of course, we have the report from the state auditor that I shared with you all as well. So, that being said, I just want to let's talk about it. Like I said, I want to hear y'all's concerns, your recommendations. Again, we will have the discussion today, and then your recommendations will be taken forward with other people. There are other people outside of our division that are going to have input on this decision. And I'm not talking about just our executive leadership. I'm talking about representation from other divisions that are involved with the investigation of childcare, the review of childcare. So let's just, with that being said, I'm going to be quiet and open the floor. Lynn, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to kick off the conversation? And then we'll go to Debbie.
Yes. The only problem that I foresee with not paying by enrollment, because it's gonna strike a nerve with paying parents, because they are paying full rate whether that child is there or not, and then to charge our parents at least what DECCD is paying, and they're not paying. My parents don't pay less. They pay a little bit more. But that is my only concern, because parents will go to Chatter and, well, my child didn't go, but I still have to pay the same amount. That is going to be the only concern that I am going to have. And then also, I do understand that we are, private businesses, but people's budgets are based on the projected income of what they're holding as far as certificates, co-payments, and paying parents. And we will not be able to maintain, because you got to look at the fact that we're like triple taxed, all of our taxes. And then depending on what county you live, like in Lee County, we have to pay taxes to our county on every computer, every table, every chair. So you got to factor all of that in. And then if you're only going to be paid for 2 days and it's costing $200 a week, I'm just throwing a number out there. And out of that $200 a week, you're only being paid $80 for just 2 days. That's going to be a major concern. And then then parents are going to start complaining, paying parents, and then you're going to lose that. So I think it's just more to it that meets the eye.
Yeah. Thanks, Lynn. Debbie, I saw your hand go up next.
Thank you. I'm afraid my response is a little more harsh than Lynn's response. I would like to say that to those policymakers, to that young man who harassed the Somalian child care facility in Minnesota, whose parents, by the way, were found guilty of fraud in a court of law. I would like to say to the state auditor and others that you don't have to pay by attendance only in order to bully and harass child care providers. That's already being done. How many CCPP child care providers have closed since this um, stoppage, since the stoppage began for child care certificates, Chad? How many as of today?
I can tell you we've lost somewhere around 200 CCPP providers. I don't know what the total closures of licensed providers are, but we've seen a reduction in CCPP providers.
Well, Lynn and I had a much larger number using health department records, which are always behind and out of date, but at some point it was over 400. So I would just say that would be the very thing that would be the final nail in the coffin for Mississippi child care providers. I don't know why these people take such delight in beating up and harming low income people. It is shameful. But I'll tell you this, if there is an override to pay by attendance only, there will be pushback from the child care community. Strong, hard pushback, if not closure. So I just think it's a bad idea. Listen, that decision was not made by Joe Biden. That decision had been in the works for a long, long time based on research and studies by bipartisan child care professionals. No private business can operate that way. None. And how many businesses could a restaurant survive if they had no new customers? Well, that's us. Could a restaurant survive if food stamps were dismantled and they hadn't lost their current client base? No. What child care has been through it's unbelievable. You have to see it to believe it, because if you put it in writing, it's too shameful. I don't care about the Iran war. I don't care about that little boy trying to make a name for himself in Minnesota. I don't care about Shad White wanting to run for governor. If that's going to be his platform, I suggest he find another one, because it is not going to work. Child care facilities do not operate in that way. The industry standard nationwide is parents secure a slot, and parents pay regardless of whether or not those children are in attendance. I don't know a private school or an academy in the state of Mississippi. I don't know one that's a member of the Mississippi Private School Association that reimburses when children are out with the flu. It is so nonsensical and so harmful. It's disgusting. So that's my position. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Carol, I saw your hand next.
Thanks, Chad. And I understand the pressures that you are under and that you cited at the opening of this discussion. But I just want to say that childcare centers have the same expenses regarding whether they have 21 children present or 18 children present or 25 children present. I mean, children get sick. Children's parents who are divorced have visiting arrangements that have to be worked out. I mean, there's so many factors in this conversation that are about all the reasons why those absences might occur. And I agree with the crisis that childcare centers are in right now that Lynn and Debbie were both referring to. But the reality is that you got to have the classroom, you got to pay the light bill, you got to pay the rent, you got to have the staff, because you got to be ready if all your children show up, and if they all don't show up, you still have that same infrastructure that you have to pay for every day. And so what we saw when DHS moved to pay by enrollment, a real stability of revenue. And that is an important thing for a childcare provider to be able to rely on to be able to stay in business. And so I strongly encourage DHS to retain the pay by enrollment as opposed to by attendance.
Thanks, Carol. Ms. Sewell?
I have to agree with Carol and everyone else. First of all, it would require me to discriminate against those paying parents, first of all. And the rule and the policy that the school make is that parents pay by the week. We don't pay by the day. And the other concern is this is as bad or worse than finger scan because parents have various reasons that they keep their children out. And we're talking about poor parents that every day that they wake up, they're facing a problem. But not only that, uh, as Carol said, I have to continue to pay my staff, and we're required to have a certain kind of amount of staff members, whether the rule change or not. If I have two-year-olds, three, whatever other ages, I still got to pay that teacher the same amount of money. It does not change based on what the rules are. So we have to really be careful about whether or not this will put us out of business because I really think if we move to this, we're going to have some more centers that are going to close. And I may be one of them because there's no way in the world that, we're still paying van notes. We're paying utilities. We're trying to give salaries that make it where we can keep staff. Everybody's shorthanded, not only because we don't have the children, but we're shorthand because we don't have the money. So this would further devastate the child care industry in Mississippi. And it needs to be somewhere that we get people to understand that if you lose child care education early, once they get to the level where they need to take a third grade test, other tests, do you think they would be capable? This is a way of, to me, discriminating against low income parents and children because it has always been said if you take education away from them, then you don't have to worry about what else goes on. And, don't be very concerned about what you say to that mother. But if you say it to the father, he's going to be all right. We have working mothers that's trying to make it every day. And what can I tell them when I tell them, well, you're going to have to pay that extra money? And they already have a certificate. That is defeating the purpose of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sewell. Sally, you were up next. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. I thought I had unmuted
Okay,
myself.
it's fine. Go
I
ahead.
was just saying that I agree with Miss Sewell. Families are struggling right now. Um, part of our mission with our agency is to provide affordable and accessible childcare to families. And this is the time of the year when you see all your little ones that you've had in years past graduate high school, some are graduating college. And I know there, those times, when we served those children, it was based on attendance versus enrollment. And what we did as an agency was we had no choice but to charge those absenteeism days past what DECCD would cover. And for some of those families, it was really, really tough. They weren't into the economy that we're living in today. I'm not sure our families could sustain an additional cost for childcare. I have noticed that the cost of co-payments have been, a little on the higher side that we've, recently received. And even though I think it would be devastating to both families and children to do attendance based, we have done it before. Is it a struggle that I think, you know, families and childcare centers should struggle with all the other things they have? I personally don't, even though it has been done before. I think it's just the relief that I think families receive and childcare centers just by having the attendance base. You're not having to go through and say, "Oh my gosh, you've hit your 10 days," and having someone track that, and it it just can create those additional burdens. And that's just my point of view.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Lori and then Miss Nancy. Lori, you can go next, and then Miss Nancy, we'll hear from you.
Okay, thank you. I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to try to be concise. I just don't know when we're going to let this payment by attendance go. We did this 20 years ago. Anybody that was in the industry 20 years ago when Dr. Jill Dent was in position, they said they were going to enforce this, and we had to have all this biometric readers, and it was going to be rounded to the minute. And oh, childcare centers had an uproar. I mean, absolutely not. It's crazy. I don't know about everybody else, but I've been doing this 23 years. I don't have any children on certificates that don't come to school. I don't have that. If they're on a certificate, they're single moms, foster children, whatever, grandparents, right? They come to school. So I don't understand this, why we aren't just paying for the week and rounding off to the minute or whatever they're wanting to do. Maybe there are some children out there that are on a certificate that aren't implementing it or not using that money wisely, but I personally have not experienced that in 23 years. My kids come to school if they're on a certificate. The other thing is, I want to agree with Miss Sewell. This is turning into discrimination. Absolutely. When you have all these centers, people I know on the coast that are like, I'm just not going to take certificates anymore. And if the attendance, this goes in and payment by attendance, you're going to have even more centers dropping. And I'll be one of those. I'll fill my slots with self-pay kids. So I know what my budget is. And I know what my revenue is. Obviously, the people in legislature that are trying to make these decisions don't know how to run a business. They have no concept of income and profit and loss and overhead. They have zero concept because a business cannot stay in business with this kind of procedure. Absolutely not. So they need to come down to the trenches and sit here and make a budget for me. I want them to take my expenses and my overhead and make a budget, not knowing what their income's going to be, and figure that out. But I did an interview with WLOX on the coast last Friday. It will be airing in the next week or so, probably. And one of the things that we talked about in that interview was with these certificates disappearing and centers not wanting to take those when they are reinstated fully, if ever, these children, low income families, single parents, foster children, grandparents raising their grandkids, they're being discriminated against because nobody wants to take them. Nobody wants to fill their house, their center with certificate children only to have the rug ripped out from under them or to be told that we're only going to pay you by attendance. No one wants to do that. So it is a form of discrimination, and I agree completely with you, Ms. Sewell, on that.
Thanks, Lori. Miss Nancy?
Yes. I'd just like to say how difficult it is to maintain the quality that Mississippi wants for the children that we serve when the funds aren't available. Now, even with the change in the decrease in the certificates, with I remember with the enrollment from by attendance, how a difference it made when it was done by enrollment, because there were added funds that made a difference. Um, I've been in a community, written letters to churches, other community organizations. This is a project we want to do with our children. Can you fund it for us? There are small churches who are sending donations in to help you maintain your teachers, to help you maintain what you were doing in the past before the funds were not available. And you can't really concentrate on doing everything that you should do for your center when you're out, you're trying to do all this fundraising to keep things going. Now, I don't know if anyone else has had to reach that point, but I absolutely refuse to allow us to not function and not do what we're supposed to because of the dilemma that we were in. And I drew back into the community to get them to help us. And I know I can't continue to do that. They're not going to continue to do that forever. But Mississippi needs to decide, what do you want for our children? Where do we want them to be? What do we want their futures to be? We have to think about that, and the funding should come to do whatever has to be done. I've seen too many people since we've been without the certificates who are devastated, trying to decide, am I going to buy this? Or am I going to buy the food? Am I going to buy clothes? Or I'm going to pay for my child to be in the center? I had a lady who brought money in cash and was handing it to me and pulled it back when I reached for it. And then she handed it to me again. And when I reached, she pulled it back again. She said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So that's where we are. We want the absolute best for our children. And we want the state to help us provide for them in an adequate manner so we can make them the best that they can be. Thank you.
Thanks, Miss Nancy. There's several people with their hands up, I think, so Carol, I think you put your hand back up.
Yeah.
You can, yeah, okay,
She
go ahead.
did.
As you write up
Hey, Carol, we can barely hear you.
oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I was using my headphones because there was a mower outside and I didn't thought that would be too much background.
You're good now.
Good. I just wanted to urge you, as you write this conversation up or summarize this conversation for documentation purposes, I would really urge you to convey the unanimity among the council members of support for pay by enrollment rather than just, it doesn't, I haven't heard a single comment in support of pay by attendance. And I just would like for the position of the council to be reflected to demonstrate such unanimity of opinion among people who are actually in this sector, know this sector, rely on these payments, know how it works, know that we're not opening the doors to fraud, as the auditor's report suggested would happen if we didn't go back to pay by attendance. So I would just encourage you to reflect in the documentation of this conversation the unanimous support for pay by enrollment among your council members.
Thanks, Carol. Anybody else that wants to speak? So I will say, I was thinking back to, I guess, three years ago, when we still had what other people call monumental funding for childcare. I would call just adequate sort of funding for childcare. Um, Miss Nancy, I completely agree, and I've said before in when I've talked to legislators and interviews, we as a state have to decide if we're going to invest in our children or not. We have to decide as a state, are we going to step up and take responsibility for our future? It When you think back to when we, like I said, when we had semi-adequate funding, we were finally able to do some things that I think we were seeing some very strong positive response in the early childhood community. Debbie, I think back to when you told me about your teacher with the teacher bonuses and how proud she was, that she was able to go get a checking account. I mean, those are for other people that may seem small, but that's huge. The quality of life for our teachers that are working in our childcare classrooms isn't always great, but yet they still show up every single day. And it speaks to their heart for the work that they do and their heart for our kids and for our future. Um, and I can appreciate this is a very difficult conversation. So, um, my concern, or really y'all, it's more of a fear, and I'm just being completely honest with you. It's just some of the narrative that we are seeing at the federal and the state level about the program. I feel that we have a strong program, Angela. We feel that we have a strong program. We do not think that there is rampant fraud. We take steps to make sure that when child care providers are submitting ledgers, that if there are corrections that are necessary, that they're doing that. We're not seeing payouts to centers that aren't open, which is, to me, that's the reality. But as y'all all know, perception for some people is bigger than the reality of what they actually see. My concern is that we're going to continue to see language narrative against all of our benefit programs because y'all, what we still have not seen the response of what's going to happen when the penalties for SNAP come down, because that's coming too, and that's going to have a huge effect on our state. It concerns me, it scares me what we're going to continue to see in terms of programs. And the thing is, unfortunately, there are people that do not see CCDF as a mechanism for strengthening our future, not just serving today's workforce, but tomorrow's. They see it as nothing more than a benefit program, which we all know it's much more than that. So again, just being completely honest, it worries me, not only with what Mississippi may face, other states, because I've talked to other state administrators as well, with this anti-fraud, rhetoric, et cetera. So that being said, we do have to take a look at this policy. Um, I agree. I think that y'all are very clearly making a very strong stance. All of the points that you have made are incredibly relevant and well reasoned. And I do think that other people that weigh in on the decision, they need to hear this, and they will. They will hear. We're recording it. If y'all are okay, I won't say specifically who, but I feel like I could just directly quote some of what y'all have said, and that would I'd make a very strong statement. Regardless of what, even if I will say this, I do feel like if we are able to keep the enrollment-based policy in place, there will have to be some changes. There will have to be some mechanisms. Like right now, one of the things that was zeroed in on is our 60-day window for absences. That would have to be reduced, I can tell you. The period of non-reporting for parents, because like right now, I think we say we allow 30 days of consecutive absences before we take action, and that's the parent has to stay in contact with you. I can tell you that 30-day window would also have to be reduced. Parents are gonna have if we're gonna be able to keep this policy in place, we're gonna have to shorten the window of non-reporting. Um, so just to maintain accountability, I feel like we would have to show some efforts made to, address at least some of what has been called out. I'm afraid if we don't, that we would face additional scrutiny at the federal and or state level. And, with this anti-fraud task force, we don't really know what that's going to look like. I don't know how that's going to go. But those are just my concerns. That's what scares me. That's what keeps me up at night is that we would potentially lose what we've got, um, which is frankly all that's left. So, anyway, Debbie, I saw you pop your hand up.
Yes, when we adopted the final rule under the so-called Biden administration that seems to be upsetting so many, that was done through a public hearing and through administrative procedures law. Now, I'm not hearing any discussion on when this would be available for public discussion, a public hearing, etc., but I would think it would need to be. This would change the state plan, everything. But anytime there is a rule in place that impacts the way in which we're paid, the law requires and administrative procedures law go into effect. And also, we would like to request an economic impact statement. Just what would the damage be? Again, I'm not interested in the politics. Somehow, some way, this country has got to find a way to separate childcare from the politics at hand in order for this industry to become stable. I don't know what else to say. These are private businesses dependent on this. I find it rich that those that are crowing the loudest looked the other way over text messages when there were $90 million of TANF money misspent. I find that very rich. This is all performative politics, and it's very harmful. It should stop. We've had enough. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We would certainly, regardless if there's any change to the policy, we would come back, we would bring y'all together, we would look at the policy manual as a group, we would talk through what potential changes would be needed. Y'all would weigh in on that for approval. Y'all would vote on the changes to the policy manual, the recommendations, et cetera. We would do the full public comment period, with the public hearing and all of that. Absolutely. Carol, you pop your hand back up.
Yeah, but your comments just addressed what I was going to say. I really think that, I understand the forces against us as you're describing them. I don't think that means we should change our position as a advisory council on this. I mean, we are advisory, so our advisory position is unanimously that we want enrollment. But I understand what you're saying, and if subsequent to conveying our support for pay by enrollment, there's a forced hand to do something, then I was going to encourage that we be part of that discussion as you were just laying out. But I don't think that it should change our endorsement of this policy because of how important it is to the viability of child care centers.
I saw a couple. Lynn, it said you popped your hand up, but I'm not sure. Did you have anything you wanted to add? You're muted if you're talking.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, rule of thumb, and this, I was just listening to everything everybody was saying. And I really think if we got our house in order, where we had all of our ducks in a row, licensing, DECCD, if we can compile all of our stuff together. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we're going to have to stay one step ahead of them. We got to. Because the next thing you know, they're going to come back with this or they're going to come back to us. Well, guess what? If we fold, and a prime example, and I know you all are tired of me saying this, but I get so angry because of Toyota built this big monstrosity, state-of-the-art child care center. Took a lot of our employees. And they had to terminate them. Some of them didn't even get a first check because the parents could not afford to pay $200, $300 a week. So if we got our business together, if we could come back and maybe come up with a piece of legislation where we can combine and please, I don't want anybody to just jump down my throat, but if we could get our business in order, that child care is unified with licensing, DECC payment program, that we got our stuff together and we are so tight and knit and we got our ducks in a row that bam, 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 we got this. Well, where we could cut out, alleviate one something, but yet we're all on the same page. I think it was showed that, hey, we got our stuff together, that we don't need you to tell us that because this child missed. Well, this child missed today because daddy had him over the weekend and he was late getting little Johnny there or whatever. But I just think it's time for us to get our act together as providers, as this council. Like Debbie said, and Carol, it's not about politics because we're endangering our future leaders of tomorrow. And I'm about to cry because within the past 3 weeks, every child that has came back to my center, these children are special needs children. They are ADD, autistic, nonverbal, and the parents are scraping. And then when you tell them, hey, it's $190 a week, ma'am, I need my job. My staff needs to be paid because they need their lights on. They need their job. This business got to run. So I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe if we all just we got to get our business. We as Mississippians, we got as business owners, as early childhood educators, we need to get our sugar honey iced tea together. We need to come up with a plan that I don't care who the governor is. And Shad White needs to be put on the front page that he is giving out false information. The state is not paying us. The feds is paying us, and he's saying it's taxpayers' dollars. So guess what? When he doesn't go to work, maybe they shouldn't pay him for that day for not showing up.
Thanks, Lynn. Debbie? Hey, Debbie, if you're talking, you're muted.
I just had a question. Do you think Jeff Bezos will reimburse the government for that $1 billion blow up that he had in coordination with NASA? There are big dollars that are being blown left and right. I'm sorry, but we're just sick of this. This is nothing but bullying, harassment, and beating up on those who they see as lesser than. It is ungodly. These people are going to answer to the good Lord one day, I'm telling you, and I'm going to be at the pearly gates shouting these comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Ms. Sewell?
Chad, I looked over what Chad White they submit, but I didn't look closely. My concern is that he is speaking off of false information because enrollment, the rules allow, although it may not been the best thing, the rules allow it. And because he has a concern about it, has the Department of Human Services responded to what he said? And if so, what did their response? What was their response?
I don't know that there hasn't been a formal response to this report.
Well,
Not,
somebody need the news or somebody need to clarify that because he also had it on Facebook, and people were responding what the regulation said. I even told him he need to go read the regulation. It bothers me when you off the top of your head, because what something happened in Minnesota that had nothing to do with him, that he would form an opinion about something as delicate as childcare. And Chad you know, to make the move, to change the rule and people can only get paid by the day, I guarantee you, Mississippi is already at the bottom. It's gonna bottom out. I guarantee you it's gonna bottom out. And to save Mississippi, we need to work to try and save childcare. We're losing. And we need to ask for a hearing with the legislature, somebody, the committee or whomever, so that people that live this every day can really speak about it. Because this is going to be worse than anything. And I guarantee you, if the state didn't have a choice, it would be one thing. But they have a choice and they need to make the right choice to save these kids and save these families. We already have headlines about what the state don't care about. So some kind of way, I don't know what you can do. We'll work with you to do it, but we need to do something. And I hope we do not take drastic measures, but we got to do something. Thank you.
thanks, Ms. Sewell. Y'all, we're 15 minutes over. So, I mean, I know this is good conversation. Um, are there any other comments about this before we move on? And we may not be able to cover everything that we were going to talk about, but which is okay because we didn't have a quorum. Hopefully we'll have a quorum next meeting. So some of the other things like with the bylaws, et cetera, it may be better to recess that until we um do have a full quorum. Any
Ted,
other
I
Mhm.
just wanted to quickly let Dolores know that I sent a statement about the state auditor's report to this council. I don't know, Dolores, if you didn't get it, let me know. I'll forward it to you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So I think the other thing regarding new business, I think we'll probably need to recess this just in the interest of everybody's time. Um, I do think so. We do still need to discuss the addition of committees to the council. Carol, are you still in favor of us adding like a funding stream committee?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
am I'm encouraging that 1,000%. And in fact, I would be so committed to it that I would rather spend my council efforts leading that effort than being the chair of the council.
Okay.
If we create that council, that committee, that's really where I want to focus my efforts on this council, because I think that's the critical issue before us right now. And I really want to see that happen.
Okay. Thank you. So I do think we need to recess that and have the discussion about that. We do need to formally review and adopt the bylaws once we add those councils. We do need to look at scheduling the next meeting. Ideally, we would probably need to meet, well, we need to meet sometime in August or September. Just throwing this out there, and I know this is far out, and I apologize. Like August 5th or the 12th, those are also Wednesdays. Does this work okay for everybody? Do we need to look at a different day, different time?
Those dates work for me, but since we have so many absent, I really do think that something like a polling of people about a date that works might
Sure.
be a good thing to do. I
Okay.
realized limiting the variables would probably be good.
Sure. Sure. We can send out a poll. That's not a problem. Okay. The other thing, are there any other announcements that anything else anyone wants to speak to? Okay. So that being said, we'll move into the public comment period. I still want to honor that, even though we're above time. If y'all can hang on for a few more minutes, but I understand if people have other things they need to get to. If there are anybody that's a member of the public, if you'd like to make public comment, if you'll just put your name and the words public comment, we'll call on you one by one. We'll initially give everybody 3 minutes, and then after everyone's had the chance to speak, if we have a little bit more time, we can allow everyone 2 more minutes to speak. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make public comment? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone putting in for public comment. So that being said, I know we're 20 minutes over. I'm sorry we took the extra time, but I do think this is good discussion. Um, after, after we have a chance to talk more about the policy, we'll we'll let you all know. Because like I said, even if we are going to make policy changes, we would, whether it's changes to the current enrollment base or changing to attendance base, whatever the whatever we're asked to do, we will be meeting again to go through that, and it may be before August, but we'll let you all know. So that being said, unless anyone has anything further, I'm just move that we adjourn. Any I can't think of the word. Any objections? Any objections to that?
Hey, Chad, I did have a quick question before we
Okay.
go. Do you have a time frame on which a decision has to be made on that policy?
No, the changes to the final rule, they went in, they're not even officially in effect yet. They go into effect 60 days after the notice. So there's not really a quote unquote deadline
Gotcha.
to make the change.
And
Um,
also, it's not, the change isn't to require states to do attendance. It's
correct.
just to roll back the
Correct.
requirement for enrollment. So it leaves it for state option. I just wanted to clarify that. So we all
Correct.
knew that that's not what we're facing.
Correct.
And
That's
I
right.
and Carol and Chad, I would like to add again that this is a matter of administrative procedures law. We will be expecting a public hearing
Yes, ma'am.
to make such a change and an economic impact statement in
Yes,
full.
ma'am. Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Any other, Miss Sewell, did you have something to add before we close?
I think it was still up, Chad.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want to take it away if it wasn't, but
Okay.
I think it was.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Anybody else, before we move to adjourn?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. We'll be in
Thanks,
touch
Chad.
soon. Okay.
And
All
I
right.
also want to say this, and I want to warn the providers. I need everybody to be extremely careful because my center, I had to close my center for a couple of days because the staff, all of my staff and myself, and 6 of my children, we tested positive for COVID. And the doctor is saying that these children are carriers and it is not detected until towards the end with the child. But it is worse to me than it was when I had it back in 19. But I just need everybody to be extremely careful. Signs is yellowish, greenish discharge of the nose, and the children running fever, or they keep saying that the child has an ear infection. That is the signs of this new COVID. And I'm just, as precautionary measure, I just want everybody to be extremely, extremely, extremely careful because this one took me down through there to the point where now, for the next 8 weeks, I am having blood thinner shots in my stomach twice a week because of what COVID did. It thickened my blood. So please, you guys, just be extremely careful.
Yeah. Everyone, please be careful. Lynn, you rest and you take care of yourself. Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Y'all take care. Okay.